Now, there's an old 19th century English proverb that goes something along the lines of, "Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me." It serves as a warning brushed from the dusty shelves of history. If someone lies to you once, then that's on them. But if they do it again, then that's on you. It's essentially basic instructions for how not to be a gullible idiot. Now, as cynical as it may sound, but I couldn't help but feel that this saying was rather pertinent when I watched CD Projekt Red's recent Unreal Engine tech demo. I got the same feeling of eye-rolling disdain as when a politician makes yet another empty promise, waters down said promise, fully U-turns on the promise, only to try to gaslight you into thinking that said promise was never actually promised in the first place. But don't worry, because lessons have been learned.
What lessons are we learning from this?
Step forward The Witcher 4, the industry's latest bucket of snake oil, the long-awaited sequel to 2015's genre-defining RPG, The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. And look, I'm not going to mess around because, taken at face value, it looks absolutely incredible. CD Projekt have thrown the entire kitchen sink at this thing. The path trace lighting, the volumetric smoke billowing in the background, nanite foliage so dense it looks like light could bend around it. It also uses technology known as adaptive voxel representation. Now, I have absolutely no idea what that means, but it sounds pretty impressive, and it provides the kind of visual feast that hits like watching Sabrina Carpenter having a hot soapy moment in the bath.
What about that then?
But hold up, let's not get too excited because isn't this just a case of history repeating itself? Haven't we already been sold the dreams of high fidelity visuals wrapped in promises of next gen immersion and living, breathing worlds? Only at launch to have the savage, tooth laden jaws of reality bare their razor sharp teeth and take a meaty bite out of our collective arse cheeks.
We were robbed.
Do you think so?
Back in 2014, CDPR were at it again when The Witcher 3 dropped Jaws with a reveal that looked like digital sorcery. Dense, brooding forests swaying in the wind, storms rolling in with cinematic flair, smoke so detailed you felt like your fucking house was on fire. Then launch day hit and reality took a bite. Everything had to be scaled back for consoles, which in plain English meant that the lighting got nerfed, the atmosphere got flatlined, and the once crisp visuals now look flatter than the personality of your average British politician. Roll around 2020, and it was the same with Cyberpunk 2077. The demo oozed greatness, flying cars, packed crowds, branching narratives. And what did we get? We got a bug-filled cluster filled with T-posing NPCs, textures uglier than the Rolling Stones drinking bottles of cat piss, and AI so backward it actually thought the window was made of ice cream. So forgive me if I don't immediately soil myself with pant-wetting excitement the second that CDPR drops another lovingly curated vertical slice. This is gaming's favourite con. Sell the fantasy, deliver the patch notes. It's a bit like getting matched on Tinder with Sabrina, only to end up finding yourself out on a date with Susan Boyle. And it's not just CDPR either. Ubisoft did it with Watch Dogs, BioWare did it with Mass Effect Andromeda, Bethesda have done it with practically everything. At this point, I would just like to point out that Bethesda can quite frankly off. Everything they make is unfinished and usually only gets fixed when the modders get involved. The only finished game they've ever released is the Oblivion remaster, and that is because it had already been made. And then there's Aliens, Colonial Marines. Do you remember that? The poster child for bait and switch game development. The demo promised a tight, terrifying Aliens experience. only for us to end up with dumb as aliens running around like a bunch of sugar-high 5-year-olds with graphics and gameplay that was so bad, the only way that you would really enjoy it is if you had your prefrontal cortex removed.
You went full man.
It's always, this is what the game could be. It's never, this is what the game actually is. And us gamers, bless our Stockholm syndromed adult hearts, fall for it every single time. We pre-order the collector's edition with a glow-in-the-dark map and the full-size plastic sword and the magic gauntlet that jumps out the box and tickles you on the ball bags every time you open it.
I am inevitable.
We buy everything on launch day for up to £100 and even beyond. Whereas the truth is, you're better off waiting a couple of years and buying the fully patched proper version in a Steam sale for under a tenner. It's hardly a surprise that studios are shutting down left, right and centre. Now look, don't get me wrong, I want The Witcher 4 to be amazing. I want a world that drags me in and refuses to let go, full of the aforementioned next-gen immersion and living, breathing worlds. And it will probably make it there at some point. If you go and play The Witcher 3 and Cyberpunk now, they are in fact the games we were promised. I mean, CDPR have put some serious work into supporting both games, and for that they do genuinely deserve a lot of credit in my opinion. But it's taken multiple years and another console generation just for them to finally get there. I'm not buying the fantasy anymore, not until I've seen it running on actual hardware. And this looks like a next-gen title for me. This has got PS6 written all over it. I mean, they claim that this is supposed to be running on a base PS5 in real time. But if that's the case, where the are all the button prompts? You know, those ugly little UI gremlins that remind you that you're playing a video game. Where are they? I'm just not buying the fantasy anymore. Not until I've seen it running on actual hardware in person with my own eyes.
And if you don't like it, well, I guess you can suck my tiny little balls.
And this brings me on to my point. You can convince me that the government wouldn't lie to you, or you can convince me that they've got your best interests at heart. You can convince me that there's absolutely no difference between men and women. You can convince me that it's not an Adam's apple, it's just a tennis ball that's got stuck in the throat. You can even convince me that someone doesn't need to go to Specsavers. But you are never going to convince me that The Witcher 4 is going to look like that on a base PS5 on launch day. And if you believe it is, then quite frankly, my mate Jack has got some magic beans he wants to sell you. So, no CDPR, I'm not pre-ordering, I'm not buying the hype, and I'm not falling for the fireworks. I am not tossing a coin to The Witcher, especially 120 of them on launch day for The Witcher 4 Digital Deluxe Edition. Because as the old proverb says, fool me once, well, you know the rest.